Hello, everyone. So happy to be able to make this connection with you and to encourage you in these trying times in which we find ourselves. To help you to look again and see, I can do this. I can live this. This is an opportunity for me to grow, to awaken, and to, in the process, recognize the things that are here that I'm having to live through, and then how better can I do it? How better can I help myself? Well, first we look and we see, all right, this is called a pandemic, all right, and it's looked upon as something that's being a crisis. And to that particular perspective, yes, it is. Of course, there's a lot of attention that's focused on distraction so far as who's right, who's wrong, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And then a lot of emphasis is being placed upon finding a cure. Good. I'm very glad to see it. I think that this is one of the ways that humanity is bringing their resources together. The other, of course, is because of the shutdown that's occurring worldwide. We are, in a way, being forced to change our lifestyles, and in so doing, get away from what we're used to, and then in this time, readjust. What am I doing? What's the purpose of my life? But I don't want to get entirely away from this other aspect of what's actually causing all of this. You can look for a cure, but that doesn't necessarily translate into cause. What's the cause? Somehow or another in all of this we've forgotten just how our biological bodies are made up and what causes them to run. We forget about the fact that our brain cells fire by electricity, our heartbeat fires by electricity, our cells communicate by small measures of electricity sending signals throughout the entirety of this organism that we live in. So we look at this and we think, okay, so then a part of us is electrical. Could it be that we're getting such a massive charge of electricity and in the form that is detrimental to our health and well-being that we're being caused to overlook it or just simply not recognizing it? Either way, whatever. I simply bring this out into the open. And then, all right, what is it about us, the operational us, that causes us to be receptive to such programming of fear and distraction? Okay. Let's look at the ego. I know a lot of people still think of the ego in terms of this is who I am. But upon a closer look, you're caused to realize I'm not the ego. The ego is not me. You look at the way the ego operates within your own inner recesses, and you see that it operates in certain ways and repeats those, even though scenarios may change. The ego is constantly creating problems that are actually no real problems that are existing. It's a mental inner working, like in your head. You find yourself thinking thoughts and then bringing up matching feelings to go along with those thoughts that stimulate you to believe this is what is actually occurring when it's what's occurring in your head. And ego will keep on creating this kind of feeling of being But if you look, there's a split in it. And the split is because you're watching this part of yourself that you don't fully have control over, and you don't. But in the fact that you're watching it, you also don't feel fully identified with it as completely as it wants you to. Now, this is a big part of it here. To look and see, all right, there's this that's operating in me that wants me to believe it is me and I am it, when in reality, that's not the truth. If you have the capacity to be an observer, observing this that's going on inside of you, then it's a clear indication that you're not what you're observing. You are the observer. But when you feel completely identified with something, you worry. And then you think your worry is correct. Look at this and see the feelings that you're generating along with this. If you're generating feelings of fear and I'm afraid and I'm scared, rather than realize that the fear is chosen, then to that extent you're lost. But if you can realize that the fear is something you're choosing, then you're starting to wake up. And that awakening is very important so far as your own inner sense of self. Look and see. Ego is a made-up identity, and you're watching it. As you become aware of this, you see, all right, it's for me to now start paying attention, perhaps observing what's going on inside of my head instead of every thought that comes up. I believe it is me. I see it's a thought. And then I look and see, is it originating in me or am I simply observing it? And after a while, you'll see, wow, this is kind of a repeating program. It's not particularly unique. It's very repetitive. And it's not very inspired. And this is where discipline comes in. And that's what I'm talking about. Being disciplined to observe, pay attention to what's going on. Because this discipline is like a dedication to stay involved as awareness. You are awareness. And this builds a certain kind of resilience inside yourself. Instead of a resilient to something outside of you, you begin to realize that you don't have to believe you're the upset emotions that you're feeling inside yourself. And when you start having this kind of an awareness come forward, you notice you stop giving it your energy of belief, and it begins to shift. It begins to change. So we can become present with those things and watch them subside on their own, because they will. And the reason they will is because you're not giving them continued energy, continued effort. So they will begin to fall apart. This falling apart you might look at as a type of degrading. Something that, look at the word degrade. Degrade does not mean it immediately vanishes. It's sort of an erosion breaking down on its own time frame. So keep coming back to awareness. Look at ego like something that has built up a tremendous amount of energy, and it's like a spinning fan. And it's been spinning for a long time. All right, you look at this and then you see that, all right, you decide, okay, I'm going to stop giving my ego attention. I'm going to stop giving it my power. So you switch it off. You turn off the power. And you notice you're still watching the ego, so you're still watching the fan. And it keeps going. And a lot of people at this point think, oh, I've done something wrong now. And this is where you need to realize ego has a lot of energy. and it is very afraid to lose your attention, because if you stop paying it attention, you stop giving it power, and it knows that without your power, it does not have the strength to influence nor control you as it did. So don't plug it back in. Don't plug it back in. Let it keep running down, because even when you switch it back on, you then start feeling like, I should be worried. And you start justifying why you should be afraid or you should be right. Now, notice this with ego in yourself as with others. There's always that tendency to justify density and distortion in thought and feeling and action, when actually it takes a lot of energy to support this. It takes a lot of energy to be afraid. It takes a lot of energy, and it's exhausting. And it can cause you to become anxious. So look at this as, what kind of energy are you supporting right now? You see, one of the things with this that they have come to realize, and in some media reports have given a correct encouragement, and that is, keep your energy positive, and you support your immune system. And when you support your immune system, you're in a lot better position to not contact any virus, or if you do, or any cold, anything, you're able to overcome it because you haven't depleted yourself by keeping your adrenal glands running at a fight or flight mode to where you exhaust yourself. So look at this and see, all right, I become peaceful, I become at ease in myself, and I find, wow, this requires very little energy compared to the energy that is demanded of me when I'm anxious, worried, and fearful. So, if you can, allow yourself to fit these pieces of this puzzle together so that anytime worry starts to come about with some particular thing, or you find yourself getting angry, or you find yourself getting upset, relax. Come back to awareness. Do deep breathing. Pay attention to breath. Use these fundamental sound approaches to help yourself get centered and be present so that you can let it come and let it go instead of having it come and take you over. This is only just a little view, a particular perspective, but in it are positive potentials to help you help yourself. Now there's there's always something about this that I need to bring up right now. It's conditional. You can hear things, and hearing them is not solution. Taking them and applying them in your life then reveals, because of your choice, how it will then affect you. And I know the way I said earlier, so far as ego, it's there, and it's going to stay there as long as it possibly can. You have to be persistent. You have to have that determination. You have to keep it up so that you build upon your positivity to affect yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, to where this is really achieving a spiritual recognition that will register in you more in harmony with your true nature. And you know, everyone at a deeper level has that in them, their true nature. But sometimes you have to get way beyond the surface distractions that have etch their way into your thinking, your feeling, to be able to then come to a place of saying, yes, I am a spiritual being. I'm clothed in a body of earth that is electrical in its dynamics. I will begin to look for a solution instead of only being distracted by problem. I will rise to the occasion, and I will find in that rising to the occasion that I will then put myself into contact with others who likewise are awakening at this time and seeing it is a blessing in disguise instead of only seeing the disguise. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it, and I'm so glad that we are together in this. And of course, we have a lot more to look forward to and a lot more to look through. Blessings to you until we meet again. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.